Welcome to DreamHack Tonight, episode 4. And I'm Justin Burnham. And fun fact, I went to military school. I led such an interesting life when I was in high school. I kept everyone guessing that I had to go to military school up in Virginia.
Huh. And I'm Alex Jebailey. And speaking of groups, I was in FFA, Future Farmers of America, for 4 years in high school. Doesn't live up to the military, but it was fun and got my scholarship. So I'm
Sounds intense.
happy about that. It actually was. I judged livestock.
I marched around in a square with my gun. You know, that's what I did.
We almost
what'd you do this week?
Yeah. This week, we see, paid way too much in income tax. I got Paper Mario Origami King, so I've been playing the hell out of that this week, actually.
Good thing you can afford it after what you paid then.
I know, right? Well, tax write-off, right? Because we're in the gaming industry, and it's awesome. So we'll write that off next year. Wish it would have helped this year. But anyways, Paper Mario, you know, I love Mario RPGs. They always have a good humor to them. And this one is beautiful. They went with like an origami papercraft type setting, and the worlds are massive. They made it very easy, which is kind of ticking off the RPG enthusiasts, but I think it's great. It's another great first-party title that people were excited about, and everyone's going to be talking about after they get through and see all these boss battles and their new battle system and stuff like that. So that's all I've been playing.
So while you do that, I'm hitting Ghost of Tsushima. And, you know, I said that so fast in case I messed it up, because I know, you know, you have a problem saying it. I don't even know if I got it right. Tsushima. But fun game. I love Sucker Punch. You know, Infamous was a great series. I actually think they're a super talented studio. I spent only 20 minutes on it last night. Not enough time. I realized I had more things that I had to get to, but I'll be giving it some love this weekend for sure. Let's jump to news. It was a slow week. You know, we're really kind of you're always hoping for that announcement, that kind of gameplay reveal, something, I don't know, something huge. And so what we feel, we kind of touched on some good things here. And one of the things that was actually interesting to me, somewhat, I was kind of let down. The hype was bigger, was the new PS5 controller. We had a first in-depth look on Friday. And I actually love the look. I love the fact that it kind of has that two color tone. I actually really love the haptic feedback they're adding in the triggers. But honestly, it's a bigger controller, which is good. They're going a little closer to the more of the Xbox way. But I guess the bigger deal of it is the fact that it's the first time they've changed the look of the controller in, Jesus, I don't even know, years, 10 years, whatever. I mean, I'm not big on motion stuff, so I don't care about the motion stuff personally.
Right.
But I don't think it's a huge leap other than the look. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what's your opinion?
I mean, I always say don't break what's, darn it, don't fix what's not broken. I think the PlayStation controller is still honestly one of the best controllers. And, you know, I was excited about this. And then it's like, here's a 3-minute video. So it didn't really get to showcase too much. As for the color, I think it's great. I like the two-tone. But anybody arguing about the color, like, dude, they make like 20 colors of every controller anyways after they come out. So there'll be something for everyone. I just think, again, it's always been a great controller. I love the touch-sensitive pad on the front. You know, some games used it with little swipe motions and stuff like that, but it's an extra button that we needed for some games. I think it did a great job of doing that, especially losing the select to a share media button. So, but I think it looks great. I can't wait to actually get my hands on it when it comes out. And again, PlayStation can do no wrong when it comes to controllers. So I think this one, they knew what they were doing, putting it together, and I think it's going to turn out fine.
There's some kind of create button on it too. I don't know if you knew that. They didn't touch on that yet. It's a surprise. They haven't really mentioned it yet. It just says it's a create button.
Does it have the little speaker in it still?
You know what? That I don't even know it. That's all it's been revealed. But the create button, there's a lot of mystery around the create button.
Yeah, so we'll see what that does. It'll probably be just create, and then you just do a touchpad or drawing on your screen. But on the opposite end, Xbox One X, instead of showing next generation, they're talking about last generation. So they just announced today that they're halting production on the Xbox One X, which was their beefiest version. Remember when it first came out, it was like $500.
Yep,
I have one. You know, they're still going to make the S, which I still think best bang for your buck, $200, $250, or I think current COVID prices are like $400 for any console. It had everything you needed, and it had, you know, Ultra HD Blu-ray playback with a disc, and I think it had the best quality of showing your movies and media. So, but this just shows you that they're getting ready for the next generation. I know production's kind of halted for a lot of things due to COVID, but this is exciting because now we look forward to this system, which basically by getting rid of the Xbox One X, they're already saying, hey, the next system's already going to do whatever this did, plus then some with next generation. So I think it's cool that they're halting it already, and I look forward to when the actual new systems start coming out.
Yeah, And I'm okay with it too myself because I have them, but it'll be interesting to see the fan feedback because fans always have an opinion, right? It's just like, oh, this is their way of forcing us into the new consoles and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? You're going to buy it anyways. I mean, I buy it day one. What I was actually been real excited about this week is because I'm also a fan of this actor, but I'm also a fan of the series. So there was actually proof, even though it's just a picture of a chair, that the Uncharted movie is about to start, which is great because I love Indiana Jones. I love Tomb Raider. I love Uncharted. So I love that kind of whole series and vibe. I think Tom Holland is actually great. I mean, he was a perfect pick for Peter Parker. He's even in talks, I don't know if you know this, as Marty McFly for Back to the Future, so it's super, super great that this is all starting and that it looks real now because so many video games, you read an article that the license was, bought by a studio. Like Shadow of Colossus, BioShock, these games that are like, oh, this movie's coming. And you never see evidence. And it's like, it's in development hell. So Tom Holland tweeted a picture of his chair as Nate, and he's playing a young Nate, of course, because he's like, I mean, how old Tom Holland?
Still looks 15 when he's like 40 now, probably. So,
But I mean, that's exciting though. I mean, COVID aside, whenever they do actually start production.
Yeah, and I'm actually, again, excited for it. I've loved all the Uncharted games and the humor that brings, right? Like Indiana Jones is about his, Indy's relationship with his father. This has been about him and his brother and, Sully and all that. So I'm excited to see what it ends up turning into. Just please don't ruin Back to the Future if you remake it. Just don't. The greatest movie trilogy of all time.
Mark Wahlberg's in this too. I'm also a big Mark Wahlberg fan.
He's probably going to be the older brother or something, or
there's
the mentor.
There's a little fun fact for you. Mark Wahlberg's from Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts. We have that bond. He just doesn't know it yet. But in regards to other fan things, I really, really am curious on what fans are going to say about the price hike of video games. So it hasn't been confirmed. And so this is all just rumor and hearsay and leaked image and all this kind of stuff. So this is just you and me, assuming, right, that NBA released, or there was some kind of image of NBA 2K saying, okay, the PS4 versions, current gen versions are $59.99, and then the new gen versions are going to be $69.99. I'm okay with it. It's one coming from design and development, as you have too, in various ways. It's about time, because the games are getting more expensive, technology, they take longer, bigger teams, Unreal 5, all those various things. Cartridges used to be more expensive anyways, because cartridges were more expensive to make. And then also another thing, we've kind of trained the developers and publishers that we're okay with this because there's been a $59.99 version, a $69.99 version, and a $99 version, and even more than that. And yes, you could argue that special editions have those things in it, but it's still a way for market to evaluate whether you're willing to spend this much on a game. Yeah. So this isn't going to surprise me.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm okay with it because listen up, guys. If you think $10 going up is a problem, you didn't live in the 80s and 90s where every brand new game was freaking $80 and you had to beg your parents to buy it. And then you were stuck with said game for like 6 months before the next big game came out. So I'm okay with this, the price hike, because as you know, the market, like there's so many great games out, but they all drop in price almost instantly these days, especially when there's DLC and, coming and stuff. But I think if it goes up $10, it obviously should have more, of things out of the box with these games. But as you know, they're always updated. They're always adding new stuff. So I'm okay with it. I think this is just their way of differentiating the next gen and saying, hey, if you buy this game, you also get like the PS4 version, which we're hearing rumblings about. So it'll be kind of cool to see where it goes. And then if people don't buy the games, which we know where they're going to buy them anyways, they'll probably adjust the pricing. But I think we'll be okay. It's not a big difference in just $10. And nobody's been spending money this year. So we're kind of waiting to spend more and game more when all these new games come out. And then moving on to, giving feedback within the game, Red Dead Redemption 2 this week has been having clown flash mobs take place in the game.
I think this is hilarious.
I do too, and I think this looks like Dark Knight, the Joker in the very first scene of the movie. But it's time that they try to update the game, and that's what people are asking for. Because if you look at Grand Theft Auto 5, how well their online play does, and people are still spending money in that game, people want more out of Red Dead. But it's like, how much more can you add to a Western game? You already have that history that's in there, and what kind of content are people really asking for other than just saying we want more? So it's great that people are still playing it, but this is actually a really unique and new fun way for people to argue, hey, we want more content, look at us in the game and make a big deal out of it. So we'll see how Rockstar Games responds to that.
I know, I agree 100%. I think it's hilarious. And going on the concept of we want more, sequels are something where we obviously prove that we want more, and hopefully we get more with more, sequels, trilogies, all these things. Today on Indie Heartbeat, we actually dive into this world because Alex and I were talking, we were like talking about this indie game and that indie game. We're like, sequels are such a rare thing in indies, which is understandable. Resources, small teams, budgets, all that kind of thing. It's a lot of work, and a lot of things. I think most people don't understand that, which is why you don't see as many sequels. But when you do, you see some pretty badass sequels. And so Alex and I got together to try to find the best 10 sequels that we could find that were better than the original. So here is our opinions of the best sequels, starting with number 10, Bleed 2.
Yep. So this game, a lot of these indie games, you're the pro at them, but most of these, you don't hear the first one until that amazing sequel comes out. But Bleed 2, it came out in 2017, which seemed to be a great year for indie games. And it's basically a side-scroller Mega Man mix with a little bit of, obviously upgrading your weapons and everything, but it has a really cool endless mode where you're just in there going through this, side-scrolling game and just enjoying it. It actually reminds me of looking at the art, Astro Boy. I don't know if you ever played that Game Boy Advance game, but it's actually one of the greatest side-scrollers you can ever play. But, we didn't hear much about it. When you hear the word Bleed 2, you don't think this is what the game's going to be, but it is one of the better, indie games. There's been a lot, like Mighty Number 9. Anybody remember that one? That was a big deal and stuff. So I think this game is a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. And then Bleed 1, not much difference in the games, but you'll obviously you'll always want to play the sequels more. And so I think Bleed 2, I think they did a great job improving on the original.
Jumping to number 9, I actually enjoyed a lot of time with this one, SteamWorld Dig. Now, these guys are actually, I don't know if anyone played the SteamWorld series. There's SteamWorld Dig 1, there's SteamWorld Dig 2, there's SteamWorld Heist, there's SteamWorld Gilgamesh, I think is their card game one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. SteamWorld Dig 2, I think far expanded SteamWorld Dig 1. I mean, SteamWorld Dig 1 had this great, cute, charming kind of, I say Minecraft, but not really, but there was Minecraft elements to it in a platforming kind of world, and it was just over too quick. I think with SteamWorld Dig 2, they enhanced the graphics, they enhanced more of the kind of approach of more of an open world platformer. I mean, it wasn't, monstrously huge in terms of an open world, but it was just a bigger game in general. They listened to a lot of the fan feedback, and Image Informed Games does a really good job with all their games, and I think they really stepped it up on SteamWorld Dig 2, 100%.
Very cool. And then let's move on to number 8, Hand of Fate 2. This one kind of went under the radar. Added, you think it's just a card game, right? But it's actually an action adventure with card game segments within the game where you're actually leveling up your stats and everything before all these battles. But it kind of reminds you of the Witcher kind of series and the outdoor action adventure side. So, but this came out again, another great game in 2017, and another awesome RPG. Again, didn't know much about it until you told me about it, and it looks very interesting and something that's different because I actually love card games. I don't know if you played Final Fantasy IX back in the day, but it had a little Tetra card game that's actually a phone app now. Yeah, definitely a great game to check out if you haven't played either of them.
Number 7 is The Escapist 2. I don't know. I mean, honestly, this is one of the most misleading games I have ever played. It looks cute. It looks charming. You want to just jump in the game and go, and I'm not one for cutesy games. But then all of a sudden you realize you're trying to escape and you have shivs and it's just like actually super violent and kind of like, holy crap, am I actually allowed to do that with this cute character? Escapist 2 just expanded upon an awesome model of Escapist 1 and just made it that much more bigger, that much more kind of different modes, different maps. I mean, it just made it a bigger game. And this is probably one of the most fun I've ever had playing with, for example, my son and just other people, the different ways you can escape, trying to escape before them. And it's just very, very well done. And I'm looking forward to more in this series when they release a different kind of vertical, which is the Survivalists, I think later this year.
Awesome. And then number 6, Risk of Rain 2, Artifacts. Third-person shooter. Reminds you, it takes a lot of different elements. Borderlands, Ratchet and Clank with the weapon system. And the worlds are massive. The enemies are massive as well. So it's actually it actually almost isn't an indie game when you actually play it. Just the leveling up system and all the weapon selection that you get, and it just makes for any kind of open world where you can shoot stuff, and then you go kind of like Shadow of the Colossus. You're like walking around and you see a big, massive enemy, and you got to figure out how to take it out. And then it uses kind of like a point system where you're attacking the enemy on their body. So this was another good one I actually played that I think a lot of you should check out as well.
Number 5, Ollie Ollie 2. I'm not even going to dig too much into this game. This is enough said. I mean, Ollie Ollie 1.
Thinking about this game.
Ollie 1 had us like just hooked hours on end, so damn difficult, but so the gameplay was just spot on. With a game this damn difficult, it needs to be spot on. And Ollie 2 just made everything more enhanced, bigger levels, crazier levels, tighter gameplay, more tricks. I mean, this was a beautiful skateboard game while you're waiting for Tony Hawk or in place of Tony Hawk. You know, I mean, Tony Hawk has been a near and dear to my heart for years. I grew up on Tony Hawk, but Ollie 2 is fantastic.
Yeah, and Devolver Digital usually does no wrong. But yeah, this game hurt my hands playing with my friends. Number 4, huge multiplayer classic that's, just they improved on everything from part 1, which is Overcooked 2. One of those games where you're supposed to work together, but then you end up getting frustrated trying to accomplish these tasks and cook meals and use recipes. So this is one of those games that you have to play with your friends. Otherwise, you won't get the same enjoyment out of it. And it's just so much fun. And you'll actually ruin friendships playing this almost like a Mario Party style game with
friends?
these objectives. My dog. So yeah. But yeah, so Overcooked 2, as we get, higher down up the list, this is one of the greater ones that you can play as a multiplayer, and it's always coming on sale now. So definitely pick this one up on any system that it's on.
Number 3, Banner Saga 2. Now, this one has a part 3. Obviously, we know it's all marketed as a trilogy, but this is about sequels, which means we're just really trying to hone in on part 2 of this series, because 2, usually there's a dip a lot of times. Sometimes 2 can be a dip after the original. But I think Banner Saga 2 was the best in the series, actually. I think Banner Saga 2, it's a beautiful game. They didn't need to change the art, which was great. That's fantastic. So, I mean, because when it's flawless the first time, don't mess with it. They enhanced the gameplay. They enhanced the choices. I mean, this is just a super talented team. I'm excited to see what they actually do beyond the Banner Saga, because now that they're done with it. But I think 2 is the best of the 3 for sure.
Awesome. And then number 2, I don't even kind of consider this an indie, but it is an indie game. It started out as one.
It's an indie game.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps, sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. One of the greatest, most beautiful, awe-inspiring games you can play. Very sad storytelling out of the beginning of the game. And then it's a Metroidvania-style game, which seems to be the most popular genre that indies developers can take to the next level in terms of storytelling, but the music is just gorgeous. So if you haven't played this game, there is a lot of blue in the first game. The second game kind of changes up the coloring schemes of the game, but you have to check this game out. And I wish it came out on more systems. Xbox has a lot of console exclusives that I wish were on other systems and vice versa, but Ori, probably one of the best indie games in the last decade. And now having 2 versions of it, 2 totally different stories. 2 carries right off, where 1 ended. And this, I think this should just been the only game on the list because it's the greatest indie sequel in my opinion. But what did you have?
Until you see number 1. Number 1. Now maybe it's a little more biased in my favor, but I am a big Diablo player, and I would probably say, with the exception of Torchlight 3, we can't think of that yet. It's out early access now. Torchlight 2. Torchlight 2 was just, I mean, I don't even know, man. I think Torchlight 2 is one of the most flawless Diablo-type games without being Diablo. They took a different art style. They expanded upon some Diablo elements, and they really created their own product in a genre that's pretty much dominated by Diablo. And I think I'm super excited for Torchlight 3. I really, really am. I have not played the early access one, and I know the full version, I think, comes out later this year if everything stays on track. But until then, I got to say, out of all the indie sequels that I have played, I think Torchlight 2 is my personal favorite, while Ori is obviously Jebailey's.
Yeah, but Torchlight 2, we got to let people know, Epic Game Store, it's the free game of this week. So when you see this, check it out. And
that was planned by accident. We didn't know that.
Yeah, moving on. Up next, Justin, this week on Real Time, I want to talk about something you have no knowledge of because, I'm too good to watch anime. But we're going to be talking about animes and what I think comparing 2 different animes together because anime is huge. It is actually kind of hard for me to watch cartoon movies and animes as you get older, but a lot of them are relating to adult stories and very, mature storylines and everything like that. So, but for this segment,
I'm
Justin,
useless.
You don't know anything about this.
I'm
go
useless.
Work out.
I don't get it. I'll go do some push-ups. I'm useless to you right here, right now. So I'll see you all later.
Appreciate it. Hey, and here with me on Real Time to talk all things anime because Justin is useless. Aaron, how are you, buddy?
I'm okay, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Lots of animes coming out lately to keep us busy this summer, but we are going to go over what I think are some of the most important animes ever since, the early 80s when a lot of them started to come out. and have your opinion, whether you agree with me or not. But let's just get right into it. First off, between these animes, right? And actually, before I jump into that, like, tell me a little bit of your anime history. Like, how much do you watch? Have you been watching since you're a kid? Like, what do you enjoy about animes as opposed to live movies and stuff like that?
So unlike the new pleb that you are, I've actually been, watching good anime for a long time, for the past, I would say, 20 years or so, ever since I was a little kid. And so my consumption of anime is far above and beyond the normal person, I would say, just based off of what I've watched and the diversity that I have. So I'm officially here to judge you in all of the picks that you've made. And every single time that one of them's wrong, you can get the hammer.
I mean, I even when I was thinking about all my favorite animes, there's just so many over the years that we all remember, just like any live movie, but yeah, we'll see how well I do. But first, I want to compare them or put comparable ones the best I could. And two of them that are probably never ending, have more episodes than anything out there for animes. They created the whole on hiatus meme for, animes. I've got Naruto up against Dragon Ball. And if we need a specific Dragon Ball series, we can go DBZ. Between these two, what do you think? If some, I would recommend these to a lot of people if they want to get into animes. As
wrong, just flat out wrong. This is not where you start anime. This is not where you start your anime journey. This is the episodic anime that really you get into after you've actually watched good anime. This is the anime that's just like, okay, hey, I'm bored. Let's put something on the background because I have nothing better to do, and I want to watch something that's shit. Both of these are so episodic, they've lost their storyline, and that's part of the problem with them. So with this, I wouldn't even compare them as comparable because you have something like Dragon Ball Z that started out with a phenomenal beginning and then just went down a rabbit hole that no one wants to follow. Naruto kind of started doing that and jumping the shark after, I would say, season 4, when they're just like, hey, we're just going to throw random people from random places in, and we're just going to do stuff and things. So if I had to pick between both of these, I'd go neither. But if you really come push to shove, I guess I would lean more towards Dragon Ball, just simply because it's been more historic and has funnier elements to it.
And has live movies. What do you think of the live movie Evolution?
Wow. You're going to bring that up? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
You're now judged because that is just wrong. Wrong. You are wrong, sir. I don't even have words for how wrong you are right now. That live action was the most atrocious thing that has ever come out of live action, period. So just let's not even get into that because I could talk about that for hours.
It is hard to get source material right when it comes to animes. Then my second two choices, these are more kid-friendly. I remember when we first discussed some of these, I was like, let me talk about Akira, which is a classic, and then you literally called me and yelled at me like I was a child. So I'm going to go with Ghibli films, right? Ghibli is a huge name in the anime world. Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro. Between those two, what do you prefer?
So this is a hard one for me. And this is part of the reason why I told you that we need to think about this in genres. Totoro is such a spirit animal in of himself. And so a lot of people identify him cute, cuddly, warm, helps children, does a lot of very spirit animal type stuff, versus Spirited Away is very much about the journey of a girl. And this is why they're both very hard to really decide one or another, because I love both these movies. I love the storyline here. The animation is phenomenal. It doesn't matter if Totoro's a little dated compared to Spirited. I still am going to lean towards Totoro because he is my spirit animal just in general, because I love that guy. If I could cosplay as him, I would. So that's my pick out of the two, but this is very hard. I would say 49, 50%, between just that's how much I teeter between going one way or the other.
Nice. And then when I was growing up, these were two of the first animes that you people would always talk about at conventions and stuff. Evangelion and Full Metal Alchemist. I think these are fair comparisons.
This is also another hard one because you have two major animes that are renowned within the industry as some of the top anime to ever been produced. Full Metal Alchemist, for one, has one of the most iconic episodes that is the most hated in all of anime for most everyone out there. And if you know what I'm talking about, you instantly know to go to that episode. And if if you compare that to Shinji, who's a little bee, right, and Asako, who's a badass, versus, you know, Al and all them, and the character progression there, this is such an amazing comparison that it's like, again, I'm at that teetering point of like, where do we actually go? But I always have to give it back to Brotherhood, because Brotherhood is just that family, and, you know, building that group together, and just there is no filler episodes here with them. They are pure storyline the entire time, even though Eva is amazing, and I love that, and I'm not going to discredit that. This is going to the Brotherhood, just because, you know what, I'm sorry, when you intentionally do something that makes the entire world hate you all at once, you got me.
You know, and actually, I got to send you the meme picture of somebody made me as the Evangelion with a big face in the ground as the Jebailed face. I should have sent that over to the producers. Here's a big one, because these are kind of recent, and they're hugely popular now. Satomo from One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. You know, these are actually two of my favorite current animes to watch. What's your opinion on these? And I mean, One Punch Man has a huge humor to it about just his attitude and how chill he is, beating up these badasses. Then My Hero Academia, you know, it's all about the storyline of these students taking on their bad teachers, stuff like that. So what do you think?
Hold on, let's back up a second. My Hero is not about just the teachers. It's about this individual himself and his individual journey of him not having powers and being able to develop those powers through hard work, right? So there's like, let's not miss the main note of what the anime is about, and that he has to work 3 times as hard as anyone in order to get to where he is, and it's just the drive that he has. So, and it's the same with Saitama. Like with him, you're looking at these two different characters individually are phenomenal, and the way they develop. If you want to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups a day and then run for 10 miles, and you can just literally annihilate anything, dude, come on, like, what? The anime makes no sense.
Who wins in a fight, Satomo or All Might?
Satoma, 100%. And here's why: because in his universe and what he does, there is no one who can beat him. Period. There's just like, he has this weird godlike power. But if you're going to compare the anime and the story arc that they provide and what the development of the characters are, I'm going My Hero. Like, I love One Punch, but My Hero is just better in general between the two of these.
It almost reminds you of like Superman with Satomo. It's like, how far can you take a guy that, you know, is unbeatable?
Right. I mean, he literally kills a god. So
yeah. Spoilers, no. And then number one, you know, I got into this because of a friend. Attack on Titan. It's one of my favorites, although I think a lot of episodes are filler, but that's almost any anime. Versus Code Geass, which I wasn't introduced to until a couple years ago. And they always make movies that are kind of based off the series. But for you, like, are these even comparable? What do you like?
Not even slightly. You're looking at an anime that's super old versus an anime that's new and relevant. This is where I'd say with Attack on Titan, it's one of the first animes that people should watch because of what it provides and just the dynamics that it has. Code Geass is really more focused towards one person's story arc and the things that are happening with him, and it's not really as dynamic as Attack on Titan is, because Attack on Titan focuses on a gamut of characters, not just one. It does have a focal point, but that focal point isn't always the main focus. And that's why I think that anime is phenomenal. So I'm going to give it to Attack on Titan, because Code Geass, it's good, but when you put these two next to each other, it's just like, I'm going to lean more towards the other one.
All right. Then let me ask you, before we end this segment, what are your top 5 animes?
Oh, I mean, you know, my top 5 animes honestly are, you know, we have Eva, right? That's not my top. It actually goes between Eva and Brotherhood. That's why that one was so hard for me. Let me be clear. I don't consider the movies an anime. I consider the movies separate from an anime, because an anime is a series. Yep. I would say My Hero is on that list.
Nice.
I would say that One Punch Man is on that list as well. And then the last one is the last one's a toss-up for me, because I love Fire Force and it hooked me on the episode 1. But there's also a couple others out there that are just like, oh my God, how did I not see this? But right now, as it stands, that I'm gonna just give it to Fire Force as my 5th spot currently, until something else comes out, because those constantly change though.
That's awesome. Aaron, you were an awesome guest. If I can get rid of Justin as a complete host, I would definitely replace him with you for your knowledge. But, you know, lots of new animes like Sinking in Japan, I believe it's called, just came out. I started watching that. But, yeah, we'll talk more anime because you are my new father friend that can teach me all about it. So
I can Aaron, do more.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, after an awesome segment about anime with Aaron, the show is going to go back downhill from here with Justin. Welcome back, Justin.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me back. You know, I'll do my best to not bring it too downhill. But hey, you know what? As long as this segment was quality, I had to step out. You know, you want to do South Park, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, stuff like that, I'm in. But the only anime I ever really watched a lot of, I will say, is Naruto with my kids. So I would have been useless. So
well,
up next,
you can watch some of those, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Up next, we have Versus with our competitive correspondent, JV. Now, JV is going to surprise for us. He's going to do a game of higher or lower. We don't have a clue. We don't have a clue what the question is. We don't have a clue what the answers are. You know, we want to get Jebailey and I's beef out there. Really, we really want to actually see who's smarter at some of these things. So JV came up with this great idea of higher or lower. And so we have, you know, he's going to surprise us with some things. So let's see. JV, welcome.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me. I'm not going to lie, though. I am coming on this call absolutely furious right now. Higher or lower? Is my anger level an 8?
Higher.
Yeah, you're right. I'm furious. How is it that we have so many weebs on this call and no one talks about Haikyuu? All right, it's on Netflix. It's an amazing anime about volleyball. I'm going full comment section right now with my rage at the fact that Haikyuu wasn't mentioned and that Jebailey doesn't know the main character in One Punch Man's name. But I digress.
Yeah, who messed up now? Hold on. I think Aaron's coming back in my ear. He says JV knows nothing about anime. All right, we're good.
I will fight him. But
I'm innocent here because I wasn't part of the segment, so I'm good.
So I figured that we would jump into a game of high-low that's really themed around fighting games first and foremost. So it's going to cover a variety of different fighting games through different time periods and all that. And since I know Jebailey, you kind of have a little bit of an advantage here.
A little bit, really? A little bit? We went from anime to fighting games? Jesus. Okay, fine, bring it.
It is not the Burnham happy hour. But you know what? I'll do you a solid, Burnham. You get to have the first pick in this game of high-low.
And next week, fair? Justin, we'll make it easy for you.
Thanks for giving me the slight advantage of answering first. Yeah.
Hey, it's better than nothing, buddy. Better than nothing. All right, y'all ready?
Yeah, bring it.
Okay. Question 1. Super Smash Bros. Melee had 22 playable characters. Higher or lower?
Higher.
Can they be spot on? Shoot. I'm going to go with lower.
Lower. Burnham is correct. It was actually right 25 playable characters in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Go figure.
Don't let the Melee community know I got that wrong.
I actually knew that.
To put things in perspective, that's actually a really big jump because the original Super Smash Bros., whenever it came out for the Nintendo 64, came with 8 initial playable characters and then 4 unlockables for a total of 12 characters. So almost doubling that amount, which is very impressive, especially given the short development time that game had.
So really quick, I mean, I just want to say this now. I know you have some questions left. If I do win this and beat the fighting game director, I will absolutely be bragging about this for seasons to come. I'm just letting you know. Okay.
If you live long enough to get to season 2.
Is that going to be the episode title? Burnham finally gets a W?
It'll be Burnham wins.
Burnham wins. Are you going to do a whole Rocky training montage and everything? I'm ready for that.
Just wait.
I bet if we do a competition on fiber supplements, Justin would win every time.
You won't have to spend too much on the statue either. Don't have to really make it too tall. But I digress. Let's jump into the next question.
I just want to give him an advantage to start.
All right. According to esports earnings, Sonic Fox earned $250,000 from Injustice 2. Higher or lower?
Oh, lower.
Higher, buddy.
Burnham is right again. It's lower.
Boom.
It was actually
won a lot of money in Mortal Kombat.
$222,000 according to esportsearnings.com.
Well, that's a good one. Well, Justin just thinks that he doesn't appreciate esports and how far it's come and how much money you can win. So again, Just giving you a head start, buddy. I want to give you a chance.
Oh no, it's okay. I just use something you lack, common sense. So it's just but we're good. We're good.
Hey, is that before or after taxes? I need a recount.
Yo, getting a little bit
but he
too
has
wild.
lifetime with NRS games made almost $1 million. So
yeah, no, he is really rolling it. I think he's by far and away the most well-paid fighting game player of all time, and that's really remarkable. I think when you consider his age or their age as well.
Yeah,
all valid points. But Jebailey, I mean, doesn't mean a damn thing. Who's right?
Well, we still have three more. We got this.
All right, let's jump into the next question. Leroy Smith was Tekken 7's 13th DLC character. Higher or lower?
Lower.
Higher.
Burnham is on a rampage. It was lower. It was Tekken 7's 12th DLC character.
Man, these are good questions. God dang it.
Don't you play these games?
I do.
Actually,
but
I don't remember.
Jesus Christ. You know what? Maybe I should be the FGC director and the global creative director.
Justin's used to shooting low on everything. So he's just used to saying lower.
That's
You're
fair.
used to being higher.
That's fine.
I thought you mentioned that you had one Tekken tattoo as well.
Yeah, I actually do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's actually, there's lots of Burnham fun facts in this episode, it seems like. So, yes, I actually used to be a big fighting game guy. I used to play Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter all the day. I used to, go to a gas station and plug in quarters at Street Fighter. And I was so addicted to Tekken that I do have Kazuya's tattoo, or Jin's tattoo on my leg.
Doesn't even know what man's on his leg.
I fixed it.
Well,
he knows exactly what man's on his leg,
myself.
Jebailey. Don't ever slander him like that.
All right, what's left? Should I even bother at this point?
Yeah, you got to keep fighting, man. You got to keep
Make it look
fighting.
good. I mean, you lost, but make it look good,
You're just guessing. You don't know any of these things. But yeah, go ahead.
I'll jump into the next one. As of the most recent patch, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has 6 Echo Fighters. Higher or lower?
Higher.
Higher. Yeah, that's an easy one.
You're both correct. It's 7 Echo Fighters, actually. You can look at the image and cheat a little bit if you think about it. What with Ryu being on there and knowing that Ken is his Echo Fighter, Marth being on there and knowing that Lucina is his Echo Fighter, etc. But yeah, talk about an insane roster of characters. I'm honestly surprised, to be frank. Min Min was probably the character that I was least looking forward to of all of these character DLCs that have been announced, but surprisingly has been one of the most fun characters I've played as well in the game. So
I have a question. Can we take away a point if Justin doesn't know what an Echo Fighter means?
I know what it means, but I don't want to bore the crowd right now. We're progressing. Let's just keep going.
Whatever.
Very convincing.
We're good. I mean, I have a question. What do I get if I get all the questions right? That's
Dude, I'll be impressed, honestly. I'm very, again,
you know what?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
If Burnham gets all the questions right, then Jebailey's not allowed to make a height joke for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one.
All right.
All right, well, last one. I hope to God he gets it wrong.
All right, let's jump into this last question. Street Fighter V has sold 5 million copies. Higher or lower?
The entire series, right? Not just the vanilla version?
Yes.
Lower.
God dang it. Oh, I don't want to get it right because I know it's lower as well, but it's lower.
You're both right. Yeah.
3 million, I believe.
February, they had only crossed the 4 million barrier. Which
I actually do remember.
You read the news
that.
too much.
I'm curious, Jebailey, do you have any insights in regards to what they were hoping to sell with this game? Like, is this about on track, or were they really hoping for some much higher numbers?
It's, so that's a great question, because when this game came out, it didn't come out with any single player story modes, and that became a huge issue in the fighting game world, because like Capcom, they're kind of cheating us out of more content. They just expect us to play it was very bare bones when it first came out, so that really hurt it. Now, with Capcom's track record, Champion Edition, their latest one, is incredible. They've added everything to it over the last couple of years. But back then, it was just the wrong time to start out with less content. And then it kind of shifted to where a lot of games are coming out with less content out of the gate than adding story modes and stuff. So they expected Street Fighter V to do a lot more, because Street Fighter 4 is really what reinvigorated the fighting game community again in the industry as a whole. And then Mortal Kombat 9 came out, and then Tekken, 5 or 6 at the time. So they expect a lot more. But yeah.
I mean, I'm curious, Jebailey. How does it feel to lose at your own game?
That's fine. I have to lose sometime, right? Can't always win.
Okay, well.
Yeah, but
you and I can talk in sidebar. So I mean, if there's any companies,
I'm impressed.
We can sidebar if there's any companies that maybe want to switch over to working with you to working with me after this conversation. So
I don't care about the numbers. I care about the quality and fun that people have with said games.
You know what? Noted. You know what? Let's have a DreamHack meeting maybe after this, and maybe I'll just start running the tournaments. You know what I mean? You can be my Tong.
Remember, you're the business guy that knows numbers. I'm the non-business guy that knows people and what really matters.
JV, you see what you started here?
I guess so. And I suppose being the person that doesn't know the numbers, Jebailey, you definitely didn't expect to get exposed like that. I mean, 5 in a row for Burnham?
Yeah,
you got 2?
Bad.
I mean, Jebailey exposed.
I have a feeling he went to the same file you uploaded the shit and saw the answers just so he would win.
Yeah, Jebailey, that's what I wanted to do. But no, you know what? It was super fun, JV. Next time, your raise has been approved. I appreciate you letting me know the answers beforehand.
I've been here for 5 years with no raise. What the hell?
But no, thanks, JV. This was always a pleasure having you on, man. I mean, no one knows the competitive scene on this show like you do. So when you come on a little bit and school us in these various areas, it absolutely brings us to a different level. I mean, obviously, I'm a little higher level than Jebailey, and we've proven that now. But I still will try to compete with you.
Finally,
yeah. Thanks for coming, JV. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, JV. Great questions.
And that wraps up Versus, where I destroy Jebailey at his own game. Always fun to actually do that. So he no longer can do things like, I don't know, make fun of my height, even though my height is average height. So Jebailey, sorry I schooled you at your game, but let's just jump up to Audio.File.
I gained a little more respect for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And with Audio.File today, we'll be bringing you DAX. And who is DAX? DAX has been blowing it up actually quite well. I mean, his numbers are some of the fastest growing numbers I've seen in terms of the hip hop space, because he's only been doing it a short period of time. I mean, I think since 2017. And he's had some great tracks such as Faster, such as Dear God. I mean, just amazing stuff, really. And I think we have a clip from one of his new tracks with Tech9, and Tech9 is fantastic. That's a great, collab right away, and only 3 years being, this development that he's been through. Let's roll the clip.
Stab me in my back, you ain't my dog, you getting euthanized. Lying on the gang and speaking down, that shit is suicide. Black ain't no excuse, ain't getting off because we unified. Came through faster, you move fast, yeah, we move faster. Can't stop till we beat you bastards. Fuck with me and meet your master. Won't come last, we move right past her. Destroy that night, eat you rappers. You move fast, no, we move fast. If you go fast, we must go fast and even faster. Came through faster, you move fast, yeah, we move faster. Can't stop till we beat you bastards. Fuck with me and meet your master. Won't come last, we move right past her. Destroy that night, eat you rappers. You move fast, no, we move fast. If you go fast, we must go fast and even faster.
All right, that was a clip from Faster with Dax. Let's bring him in here now. Dax, man, thanks for being here.
What's up, man? Happy to be here.
Appreciate you making the time. I got to say, I have become a big Dax fan. The more stuff you put out, you're just growing and evolving with each damn single you have. It's really, really awesome to see the process for sure. So one of the things that I want to start out with is kind of like how you got to where you are, right? So how did Dax become Dax, who he is in 2020, with everything that you've done, and you're all of a sudden now collaborating with Tech9? How did you get there?
Yeah, so played basketball my whole life pretty much. I was in Canada, deciding I wanted to play Division I basketball when I was like 7th grade, so I spent, that whole time doing that. Went to a prep school in Wichita, Kansas. D1 didn't work out right away, so I went from there to a junior college. Then I finally got recruited from the junior college to go D1. Finally got to D1. D1 didn't work out. There was a coaching change. Coach Takira said I had to leave because Coach Tingle transferred out. So then I went to a D2 my junior year in Wichita, Kansas, which is where I also went to prep school, and I started writing poetry at the D2 school. And then that poetry eventually turned into music. Then once I was working as an overnight janitor at the time, also playing basketball. Once I graduated, finished basketball, I quit the overnight janitor job, went to LA, and then just continued the music career. And then that led me to here. And yeah, went on tour with Tech Nine last year, and then made a song.
Damn, I wish I knew about that tour. I'm also a big Tech Nine fan. The next time I need a heads up on that one. So, you know, your latest album, I'll say it for you, and then you have Joker, you have Faster. You know, what motivated this? Like, what motivates you when you're writing these lyrics? Like, Dear God came from obviously like a self-evolved place, right? So that was fantastic. That was really written well. You have a lot of emotion in your lyrics, and so what motivates each one of these? Where do they come from?
They all just come from different things I'm experiencing in life. You know, Dear God, I would call it, Dear God is sort of like a life story almost. You know, I think like I said it before, that it's sort of like it's the journey of the average believer. You know, you're born into whatever you're born into. You sort of follow along whatever you're told. Then at some point you become old enough to create your own opinions, and then you go searching for what's real. And then in the process of that, you know, at some point you just have to make a decision. So that's basically what Dear God was. It was just like that process. And then at the end of that decision, I was just like, well, you know, fuck it. I'm a believer anyway. So it's just like, you just deal with it, you know? Mm-hmm. So each song is just what I go through. I think the Joker song came from, you know, like just, you know, people on the internet. So that was inspired by that. You know, at the time when Faster, we actually wrote Faster, I wrote that like a year ago when I was on tour with Tech Nine. But at that time, you know, I was on the tour with Tech Nine. It was my first tour ever, and life was just fast at that point, you know, because it was like you're touring, and I'm on tour with Tech Nine. I'm hearing that music every day, which is like, you know, inherently a little bit more like sped up and just more like intricacies. So just like, you know, I got that influence came on me, and Faster came about. So each song is just inspired by, you know, different points in my life, different things that happen, you know, different people in my life, relationships, and so on and so forth.
Very cool. And then as we previously spoke before, you're from Newfoundland. I was actually born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, so a little bit south of you. And then you, please tell me you love PEI mussels. Do you like seafood?
So here's the thing. I was born in Newfoundland, but I've never been there. Like, I think we left when I was like 1 or 2, and then I moved to Ottawa. So I grew up in Ottawa, Ontario my whole life.
Nice. Actually, Ottawa, I went there for the first time ever like 2 years ago, drove over from Montreal, and I never knew how beautiful Ottawa was, man. That's a beautiful city.
Yeah. You drove over from where?
From Montreal to Ottawa. It's like a 2-hour drive. I had a cousin with he had an elite car rental, so he let me borrow a Bentley Continental that was like 10 years old. So when I would hit 80 miles an hour, that thing would drive so fast. But anyway, or it would shake so much at 80 miles an hour. But so tell me, so now we know that, right? You didn't really grow up there. What was your scene like that where you did perform? Like, I'm sure you did underground stuff, you toured. Did you do most of this in Wichita before you got to where you are now, or was it mostly in Ottawa? And like, what is that scene like?
I was never making music in Ottawa. I only started the music 3 years ago when I was a junior in college. So last year was my first year doing shows. So when I was in Wichita, I was still like playing basketball, finishing college, and working as the overnight janitor while I was starting poetry. And then the music started eight months like into me writing poetry. So I would say I never really did an underground scene or anything like that. My whole goal was just to like create enough content and get like far enough in terms of building a following that I would sort of get to skip some of those things most artists would have to go through. And then that with me, you know, getting on that tour, which was my first ever experience really doing shows beside a couple of like one-offs here and there.
That's awesome. I mean, then you're incredibly naturally talented then to pick it all up so fast. Then obviously with COVID, things, you know, have changed in a single year. So back to with DreamHack and everything, we're always about gaming as well. Like, I was trying to look stuff up on you, and it's mostly about your career, your awesome YouTube videos. The Joker video is incredible, but tell us about you and gaming. Like, what do you play now? What's your favorite console? When did you start playing and all that? Like, is it a big part of your life?
So what happened was I started playing video games. I remember the first game system I ever wanted. I was like 5th grade. It was the GameCube. So I think I was like 5th grade when from there was from GameCube to the Nintendo DS. I started with Super Mario Kart on there. On the GameCube, it was mostly like wrestling games. And I think the first game I had on GameCube was Wave Race and the Tarzan game.
Wave Race is a classic.
Wave Race is a
Classic.
And then you're a huge Pokemon fan, right? Show us that awesome Pikachu.
Oh yeah. So I had a Game Boy Color actually. That was back when I lived in the apartment. I had a Game Boy Color, like I think it was Pokemon Silver. I forget which one it was. Or Diamond.
There's so many of them. Yeah, it's like Color, Moon, Sun, X, Y, Z.
So I played those, and then once I got to like 9th grade, it was a choice between Xbox and PS2. But I got the PS2, and then with the PS2, it was pretty much wrestling games, WWE, SmackDown, and that was playing those with my friends and a little 007 here and there. But then I sort of lost touch with it once basketball really got seriously, and I had to get out because I just had to focus because I was trying to get out of Canada. But just recently, I bought the PS4. And I got Call of Duty, I got 2K, I got Spider-Man, I got I don't know, a couple others in there, but that's what I play now.
You got to add Last of Us 2 to that one.
Huh?
You got to add Last of Us 2 to that one. That just came out about a month ago. That's tearing up the charts. You played Last of Us?
No, I haven't.
I'm vouching for it, and if you need a code, let me know. There you go.
Oh wow.
There you go.
I didn't even get one. Thanks, Justin.
I only give codes to people I like, Alex. I like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Far, you know? So man, you got, it's like you did a lot of collabs already for such a short time, man. You're growing fast. I'd like to think I'm pretty music savvy, and your numbers are just growing fast, which is great. That's awesome for you, man. You have Faster with Tech 9. You had a song that You Should Have Known with Hobson. I think that's a badass song too. I love that song. What are some of your favorite collabs that you have either done or you want to get to, either in the music space or the YouTube space? Because the reason I say YouTube space is because you're also a large YouTuber. Your YouTube presence is growing just along with your music presence, right?
So I've actually never been a YouTuber. I know people. It's weird, but people have sort of put
but it's just right.
People have put that claim on me, but I've only ever dropped music videos. So. I think it's because of who maybe I've associated with and had conversations with and stuff like that. But in terms of being a YouTuber, I've never YouTubed.
It's organically grown because of your music. And
exactly. I've always considered my YouTube following my music following.
Right.
I've never. Yeah.
And that actually happens for a lot. Like, for example, there's another artist out there called Neffex, Neffex. And they've grown from YouTube, and a lot of people think they're from YouTube in regards to that, but their music following ties into their YouTube where they've both grown just organically. So in terms of collabs, though, you have done a lot of collabs with respected artists such as Hobson, and then Tech 9. What is your dream collab? As you grow further, who would DAX like to do and create some songs with?
I'm a type of guy. I always want to work with the best. I want to work with the greatest. So I'd love a song with Eminem. I'd love a song with 50 Cent would be cool.
Honestly, yeah. That's good. Eminem, I'm a big fan of Eminem. So I can definitely understand that. So on your career, man, what's next? You have Joker did well, Faster's killing it. Your album, Dear God, got tons of respect. You had really a lot of these songs in such a fast track again. What's next? Where is Dax going from here? No one's touring right now, right? So, besides playing DreamHack when we come back, because I know that's going to be next, right? You know what I mean? We'll get you on DreamHack, and maybe even getting you into some of our tournaments. So maybe that's another next period too. But what's next for you, man? Where are you going musically?
Where am I going musically? I think my biggest thing is I'm trying to get as big as possible independent. I think, I'm probably one of the biggest independent artists in the world right now, low key. But I'm trying to. Just
I love it.
How far I can take it. Doing it doing it the way I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna continue to drop songs. I feel a lot of people feel like I've been doing it for a long time, but I really haven't. So it's I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface. So I got the songs I have coming up are crazy. Along with the visuals, and I'm starting to, generate more income. So I'm putting more money into making, better visuals, and just things like that. So and hopefully as I grow, I can get some of these more collabs with some other artists that I think are great as well. And just my goal is just to continue to make an impact. I don't really have I I want to put something into the world that'll last forever. So just to be a global artist, you know, and then, you know, do a little acting too.
Well, you're on a roll, man. Really, you got a lot of talent in a lot of different places. And oh, by the way, kudos to Faster. As a gamer, that video is beautiful.
Right, man. Hey, the guy named Randy Chris who made that, he's insane, man. It took him like 30 days or something like that. And it's just, I'm not big on like those types of videos because I always know like a video with the actual people is gonna do better. Yeah. But you know, the pandemic made me have to, you know, like find something different for that song because I didn't just want to put up a video where me and Tech weren't in the same place. We're still gonna film the video soon, but I just wanted to get that out sooner. So it's a crazy video and it's definitely super intricate.
Well done, man. I think it's speed round time, Alex.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. No, so these are probably gonna come out of left field, but mostly to what you do. We got 10 questions for you, and I'm just gonna give you 2 options and just real quick tell us your answer. And then if you have a third one instead of the 2, I wouldn't mind hearing that. But so first question: Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Drake.
Okay. Tim Hortons or Starbucks?
Tim Hortons.
Good man. Super Nintendo or Genesis?
Super Nintendo.
Are you a fighting game fan at all?
A what?
A fighting game fan. Ever play any fighting games?
Nah, I'm not really a fighting game fan.
Oh man, so
you just broke his heart, man. You just broke his heart.
That's my job.
I don't like just being in front and just, you know, I like the shooting. I like moving. You know?
I'm on the same page as you, but you just broke him a little bit. And the fact that you broke him a little bit, I like you even more now. Good job.
All right. Do you watch animes?
No, I do not.
Oh my God. Next question. All right. You like the Joker. What's your favorite DC villain besides Joker? Either Penguin or Two-Face?
Am I choosing between one of those two?
Yeah, or if you have a third one, what's your favorite?
My favorite movie is probably Batman.
Okay, but what's your favorite DC villain?
DC villain? Honestly, I'm not too versed in DC villains, to be honest.
Okay, man, you're just, I got to rethink these questions in life. All right, you might not even know this one. Poutine or Heroes?
Oh, Poutine for sure.
Okay, PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
All right, you wear a lot of sportswear in your videos. Nike or Adidas?
Nike, just because the slogan.
That makes sense. And then last question for you, back to food. Donair sauce or ketchup?
Ketchup.
Wow, okay.
I don't know what Donair sauce is.
Your Canadian
man.
just went out the door, man. Jesus.
You answered these perfectly to where I like you even more because you made him look bad. So that's great. I mean, I don't watch anime. I don't really play fighting games, you know, so that, I mean, you and I are going to be best friends when you play DreamHack. You know, we're going to get along great. So, I appreciate your time for coming here, man. Really, I know you're a busy dude. You know, you keep throwing out tracks out there, and each one is just better than the last. And I know, 15 minutes of your time, you could be writing the next, genius song. But I really respect your work, and I appreciate you coming. Hopefully, when this is all over, man, we get you to DreamHack, get you involved in some things. Maybe,
Sure. That shit's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait till normalcy comes back, man. But until then, keep up the great work, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Thanks for coming, man.
Take care, Dax.
Up next, we have The More You Know, as TMYK, we like to call it. And we actually have Riddle on today's show talking about cosplay. Basically, I'm not too familiar with cosplay. I mean, Jebailey's more familiar with cosplay than I am. Riddle is obviously a very respected name in that space. She's been doing this for many, many years. She works with Marvel costume designers. She even has her own charity. I mean, she is one of the top cosplayers in the globe. How are you doing, Riddle?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys holding up during the quarantine?
That is a loaded question.
Yeah.
Good so far.
Pants on. I mean, let's ask the hot button issues.
Yeah,
Everybody
right. Jebailey, I mean, how are you, man?
I'm great, man. This is the greatest vacation of my life. Jesus, you're never going to get a reset like this.
Well, I asked how Jebailey was specifically because he's in Florida, so he's got it worse than I think.
Oh, yeah, I definitely don't leave. Yeah. It's okay, though. It's not bad. There's a lot of people at my pool right now probably going to die in a couple weeks, but we'll see how it goes.
Hey, my parents are in Florida. I hope they're not at that pool.
Dude, my dad caught COVID. He's as good as new right now. He's doing fine. So he was one of the stubborn ones that wouldn't wear a mask, and then he caught it. He's like, all right, I'm going to wear a mask.
Man, it just sucks because, like, I'm in Georgia. Obviously, we have that mask. Now our governor's taking our mayor to court, all that jazz. But but since I work in the movie industry, we can't start till people start wearing masks. And this thing like nosedive. So wear your masks, please. I would like to go back to work so I can buy collectibles.
We're only 4 months in. I'm sure they're going to wear them sooner or later.
Especially in such a big hub too, Atlanta. I mean, that's a huge tax hub for filmmaking. So that's definitely. I'm sure that's hurting the city for sure.
Big time, yeah. But you know, gives us lots of time to sit at home, make costumes, play video games. So it's not all bad.
So yeah, let's get to it then. So we have a couple questions for you. Obviously, very experienced cosplayer. I've seen some of your stuff, which is amazing, especially the Tira from Soul Calibur. What was your very first official cosplay that you remember? And like, how did you get involved? Like if looking back at the experience for how long you've been doing it, when you look back, like what would you have told your former self knowing what you know now?
So when I started cosplay, I didn't know what it was. I lived in a very, very rural town in Canada. I mean, my graduating class was 20. That was like my whole high school was grades 8 to 12. We had 500 kids. That's it. And the nearest McDonald's was 3 hours away, to give you an idea. So that was like, we were at the biggest city. So I had just sort of like gotten into Sailor Moon, and I was like introducing myself to other anime, and there was this anime called Devil Hunter Yoko. Very old, probably no one knows about it. And I was like, oh, she's fun, and she's outgoing, and she's sexy. And I wore her. I had a friend's mom help me make her for Halloween. No one had any idea. They thought I was Chun-Li, but I was dressed in, it was like that same sort of like, it was like a Chinese-inspired dress. So it's nothing like Chun-Li.
Was it like one of those red dresses the guy shot?
Yeah, it was red, but the symbol's totally different. The hair was totally different. But, you know, it's like kids are just like, oh, you're Chun-Li. And I'm like, yeah, okay. We'll go with that. And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years later, I actually went to my first convention in Anaheim, which was AX99. And I saw other people doing it. I was like, this is a thing? And like back then, you know, there was no social media. There was no like tutorials. There was no shops you could buy your costumes at. So everything was really like a hot mess, but it was like glorious. Like you look back on it fondly. And then I just kept doing it. I joined an anime club when I started in college, and then I started a convention in Canada, and I was just hooked. I couldn't stop. It was like the joy of being these characters and making the costumes, and then it eventually led into this like pseudo celebrityism that is like addictive. Like people think you're the character, or they're just like, that's such a great character, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, and now we have AliExpress to cheat the system.
Yeah. Cool. It's cool that it's like it is more accessible for everybody. You don't. But I came up in it when you had to make everything. You had to Sharpie dye wigs, and living in Canada was even harder to get materials. So I can appreciate when I travel around the world and I see other countries without the access to resources that cosplayers in the U.S. have. I totally understand the struggles, and you know, a lot of countries look up to the U.S. being like, oh my gosh, the cosplayers are amazing. And realistically, it just comes down to access of materials, because the people in those countries are very innovative and very creative and using what's around them. You know, they don't have access to thermoplastics and crazy things. So it's like paper mache and all that jazz.
What part of Canada, by the way? Because you said very rural.
Very rural. I primarily spent my growing up on the very tip of Vancouver Island.
Oh, nice. I was born in Halifax, actually, the very opposite edge.
I'm from Halifax.
I was going to say, watch Letterkenny if you haven't, because that's all about rural towns in Canada.
Yeah, no, but prior to that, do you know where Inuvik is?
I do. I had cousins that grew up in Vancouver, so.
Well, no, Inuvik is at the very top of the Northwest Territories. After I was born, my parents lived there for about 7 years. So it was like a town of like 500 people, no roads out, food barged up every month, no high school. And then I moved down to, the big city, which was 5,000 people.
We have a very Canadian heavy show today.
Yeah.
My maple syrup brother. I miss Donairs.
I knew somebody would say it today. That's one of my questions for a later Canadian guest. So yeah, Justin, why don't you ask the next question?
So with social media over recent years, one of the things we were wondering and wanted to actually ask you, especially with the sensitivity of 2020 today, right? It's like How much has, yeah, you're not kidding. This is why I stay away from it. I mean, I was actually forced to use my Twitter lately. Oh, you should use your Twitter if you're hosting a show. So how has it changed in terms of access and inclusion? I mean, a lot of it's, where has that gone in terms of today versus 5-10 years ago, as long as you've been a cosplayer? How have you seen that grow?
So just, so what exactly you're asking? You're just saying, how is it like make cosplay more accessible to everybody?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's really definitely changed thing. I'm going to use, I was on the show on the Sci-Fi Network. It had mixed reviews, to be fair. But it was interesting after the show aired, meeting people who had no concept of that there were conventions, had no idea that cosplay existed. And it's really weird for us who live in a bubble, be it the gaming industry or the cosplay industry or the comic book industry, for somebody outside of that, for somebody not to know that these things exist because they're part of our everyday life. So I think definitely with the advent of social media, it's brought to light. There are way more people doing it. There are companies whose whole basis is just doing cosplay. And as well as I think the accessibility to tutorials and the way things are made. I mean, when I started, it was really rough. I didn't have anything to look at on how to make anything. I'd look at patterns I could get my hands on, but that's real clothing, and at a certain level, comic book and video games defy real clothing, like gravity doesn't apply. So I think now people just starting have access to all this information, and it's really like allowed people to come out of the gate in just the most amazing costumes. But I am also realistic, and I think the race for likes and the race for numbers have also had a bit of a negative effect on the community, because I love cooking shows. I'm going to use a cooking show as an example. When I started cooking shows, you didn't hear kids saying, I want to be a cook. But the moment you punch it with some fame, suddenly you have MasterChef Junior, you have all these like kids who grew up watching famous cooks. So the same thing with cosplay. When I started, and I've actually been doing it for 2 decades.
Oh, wow. So 20 years now.
20 years, yeah. It wasn't maybe till the last 10 years where people have made a career doing it. And I mean, that is one of the most frequent questions I get is, can I make a career doing cosplay? And I always have to say, like, or can I make a living? And I was like, well, what is your quality of life? Do you have a significant other with a 6-figure job? Like what do you want out of it? So I'm all over the place on this one, but yeah, it's definitely been good and been bad, the social media aspect to it. But I like it personally because I can really like get in touch with my community. I can talk to them. I can share the things that are important to me, wildlife rescue, wearing masks, like important issues. And so you definitely have a more personal connection, them with me and me with them.
That's cool. Yeah, times have definitely changed, especially, you said 1999 was your first convention, and I actually used to cosplay in the early 2000s.
You cosplayed?
I've shown you some
pictures.
No, you have never shown me any pictures.
Kick-ass, really good kick-ass.
If you had pictures of cosplay, no, you have never shown me that, and you probably should never show me that.
Oh, no, you would love it. I did Bruno, Sacha Baron Cohen's Bruno. I did You Don't Mess with the Zohan. I did a 300 Spartan. I actually was so obsessed when that movie came out in like 2006. I lost 50 pounds just to grow get a six-pack.
You go to a Dragon Con and wear it in that 300 group?
I did. I was there. That was the only year I've ever been to a Dragon Con.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah, on my Facebook, but you don't use Facebook.
Yeah, we're talking after this.
Yeah. Anyways, so I mentioned your tier earlier. You've done so many, and you probably have so many fond memories. Like, what was your favorite one that you're just like, oh, I'm gonna nail this, and then it came out, and you're like, this is awesome, but holy shit, this was the hardest thing I've ever put together, and I never want to do it again. Like, do you have a costume that comes to mind?
All of them were a struggle. It's like you go in and you see these like beautiful characters, and you're like, well, if I just put on that outfit, I mean, it's gonna look as good on me as it does on them. But we're not all built like comic book and video game girls. So you have to like, I am very short. I am a whopping 5'1". So I have to a lot of times like faux the lines to make myself look taller or scale things way down. More often than not, though, I've worked really hard on a costume, put it on, and been like, womp womp. I'm like, I don't feel so good in this. But I was really happy with Tira. I felt really badass. The shoes were really comfortable.
And what was her weapon made out of?
So the process of the weapon was it was done in a third, then digitally, then CNC'd, and then cleaned up, then molded, and then cast in fiberglass resin, and then it was hollow, and then inside I put a hula hoop that I drilled holes into, and then injected the whole thing with foam.
You must have killed it at science fairs in middle school.
No kidding. I mean, how did you even come up with that?
Justin, this is some in-depth shit, man. I'm telling you, cosplayers, like the stuff they come up with. But yeah, like what inspired, like how do you figure that out? What you need to make something?
Well, basically, a lot of times when I'm making things, I work backwards. So I'm like, how do I want the finished piece to look? And again, I was like, I have to make it lightweight. So yeah, okay, I could have CNC'd all three pieces and then slotted them together, and that would have been that. But it would have been a huge, heavy piece of wood. I'm like, I'm too weak for that. And then, I was like, okay, but then if I cast it in resin, fiberglass, and it's hollow, it runs the risk of shattering. So I have to fill it full of something, and then foam is the lightest thing. Or I did Ash from League of Legends, and I was like, okay, she's got a crossbow. Okay, I could do kind of like a clear tinted resin, but I also want it to light up. And so then you have to like worry about like, how do I put a lighting system? Where do I hide the batteries? Where do I hide the switch? So it is very trying to like work out and engineering costumes, not only in cosplay, but on for film and television is often like a huge part of it. How's the person going to get in and out of it? How am I going to get in and out of it by myself, quickly?
One thing I'm curious about too, and it kind of ties to an earlier question, diving a little more deeper into that, is how do you separate your life from this cosplayer and your personality of your own personal life, right? There's two different personalities there, right? How do you separate? To some extent, how do you separate that social media? Because I'm not a social media guy. I'm not. I'm very business heavy. Anyone that knows me. And one of the reasons I stay away from social media is because I'm also very private. How do you say this needs to stay here, this needs to stay here?
Maybe that's because I'm terrible at business, so maybe I should get off social media. Well, first off, to go back what you said, I know some people do have two personas, and honestly, I have enough troubles just being myself. I couldn't like run a second life. And I know for me too, like I've met some people who I'm like, oh my God, they're hilarious online. I can't wait to meet them. And then I meet them and I'm just like, well, that sucks. Like totally not what I was expecting, and they're not engaging and not exciting. So I do try to portray myself online as I am in person, but just with terrible spelling and grammar. I don't know. I just try to share the things I'm comfortable with sharing and that I don't mind people knowing. I do keep a lot of stuff to myself, and I do definitely I don't like people being overly friendly with me sometimes. Like, hey, I share with you, but it doesn't mean, thank goodness, no one has, but it doesn't mean you can come to my house. Like, it doesn't mean you can drop by my house unannounced, which I've heard has happened to a lot of people. So yeah, there is a fine line, but I've been really lucky that all the people who do follow me seem to, be very respectful.
It's good. It's good and it's very rare.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I think it's because I've been doing it so long that like maybe I just have all the people who've been around for a while that are like, no, that's not cool. Don't do that.
So I gotta ask, and we'll end with this, kind of bit, and then we'll get you on with your weekend,
Oh God. This is so short.
Well, actually, the days are blurring together. It might not even be a weekend anymore. But you've worked,
that's all I'm doing.
You've worked with us a couple times at DreamHack. Obviously, we've invited you back. We've enjoyed working with you, and apparently, you keep coming back. So you've enjoyed working with us. What is some of the things what has been your favorite things about the event? Like honestly, why do you keep coming back to us when we invite you?
I have to say, like, just how professional the event is run. There's definitely a difference between DreamHack and some other convention I've been at, and well, they're not. It's not bad. I do appreciate it's very professional. You know, like I could bring my parents to DreamHack and they would see it as like, oh, okay, this is like a professional adult running business.
Right.
But kids can have fun. But gosh, I'm all over the place. For me, I love video games. That was my first introduction to any kind of fandom. Before anime, before comics, I was playing in television with my parents. I have fond memories of playing RPGs with my mom and my dad. My mom and I fighting over the PlayStation to play RPGs. And I just love being in that video game environment. And you guys are just very chill. Like that's also something I just appreciate. You're like, here's all the information you need, exactly like how you need it, and that's it. Like there's two different things. There's like the fan part of it, and then there's you guys bringing me on as like a subcontractor. And you guys both handle that so well. And I love the LAN area. I thought that was really cool. When they first showed me, I was like, oh, people can just bring their computers. Like I remember having LAN parties at university, and there's like 6 of us, and now there's hundreds. You
realize you just inflated our ego, so now it's just like holy hell! It's like, oh, apparently we're awesome. So that's good to hear. Awesome. I mean, I won't take any more of your time. I appreciate you taking the time that you did. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. All that kind of stuff. And when our events are back, we'll invite you since apparently you think we're awesome.
I do think you had a DDR machine. I can't go wrong with that. But I do need to set more time aside to sit and play some games. But I'm almost like embarrassed because I was like, oh, people are going to judge me because can I just live stream me playing an RPG? Because that's pretty much about all I play. So.
Well, again, thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. Ton of fun. Feel free to contact me anytime.
Great. And thank you. That was Riddle with DreamHack tonight, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye, Riddle.
Bye, guys. Take care.
That was TMYK with Riddle, giving us a little education on cosplay, which I am totally kind of blind in. And, Jebailey knows more than I do in that space, which it says a lot because he usually doesn't know more than I do. Up next, we're going to go to BPM because Jebailey and I very much believe in health and gaming. I love weightlifting, and I try to throw in cardio as much as possible, as does Jebailey. I personally don't want to do too much cardio because it kills the gains, but it's something we really believe in, even with my kids. You've met my kids, Jebailey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
much nicer than you.
Yeah. Oh, I will absolutely say, they are much nicer than me. They're not as serious about it as I am, or even as you are. But I very much believe in leading by example. As either it doesn't matter, manager, job, occupation, father figure, it doesn't matter. You lead by example. So Jebailey, I know you need help in that area in terms of having that kind of approach to things. Leading by example, all that kind of stuff. You just look like lost. So I'm here to say, Jebailey, I will lead you and help you, and look what I can do in terms of you following my leadership. Watch this video.
Okay. Now, how good, do your kids just not want to work out? Do they ever ask you, Dad, I want bigger arms?
No, actually they don't, but look, they're already lifting what they're lifting there. That is 350 pounds, 365 pounds, I think.
Oh my God.
That's my 18-year-old.
That's not real.
That's my 18-year-old. Now, this is Seth, again, leading by example.
How old is this one?
He's 14. Also,
no way.
365 pounds. Now, I'm that good at teaching. Look who else I taught.
There's no way. I don't.
So... That
might be the greatest editing, or you really are. Your family is as strong as you are, so that's impressive.
That's leadership. That's just leadership. My 18-year-old, my 14-year-old, and my 5-month puppy. Jebailey, I can help you too.
Man, if I want those kind of gains, holy shit. That's our show video, but my dog won't lift anything unless I give it food first. Then after I give it food, just goes to sleep at the bench. So kudos to your family.
Well, you know what? Then I'll help you, and my dog will help your dog. There we go. Leadership right?
That works.
Do you have a final thought for us before we close this out?
Yes, I do. Things are still getting crazier day by day. And I think, with everything going on, whether it's politics or just science, better to be safe than sorry. So just wear a freaking mask when you go outside. What's the problem with wearing a mask? Be more social. Now they're going to be in. Like, who's got the cooler mask and stuff? So just wear a mask is the moral of this thought. And just be safe. Take it easy. You don't have to be going outside all the time anymore for good reason. And just wear a mask. One more time. Wear a mask.
Words of wisdom from Jebailey. None have been wiser.
Thanks
to our sponsors. Thanks to our watchers. Comment, like, subscribe. Find us on all social media platforms. I mean, Jebailey, you're better. So tell us, what should we do to follow us?
Just go on our Twitter, DreamHack, Instagram, DreamHack everywhere you go. So we got so many shows that are happening all the time, and just find us and give us a follow. And DreamHack Tonight, a DH Tonight hashtag is what we've been using if you want to ask us questions. And then a big shout out to our sponsors, Blue Microphone, this beauty right here. I've never sounded more clear and more annoying to Justin in his ear. And then SimplyNUC, who has Samsung's 970 Evo Plus NVMe storage technology, because those are NVMe is taking over, and this is one of the greater brands. So check them out as well. And they're starting to get into the gaming space. So let's see what they have out and check them out.
Awesome. Everyone have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you next episode. Good night.